Hi, I'm Dilly Dutton. I have some experiments to run. First of all, I have some new paint brushes. I took each brush and kind of did a squiggly little line with them, kind of getting a feel for them, and how much water they need to flow nicely, and what kind of textures they make. Swatching. This isn't totally unfamiliar. I've painted with normal paintbrushes lots of times, but I've really been in the habit of using water brushes. They have the water inside the brush, which is useful for traveling and avoiding spills. Also, I feel like I've gotten a decent handle on how much I need to squeeze to adjust the amount of water in the brush, so it has become easier to control for me. The unfortunate thing is that water brushes only come in 2 different shapes and not that many sizes. Nothing tiny and nothing larger. And I think it would be nice to have some little detail brushes. I thought about just stopping after doing those lines, but then I was like, why not continue and try another experiment? I was thinking about underpaintings and how that paint sort of subtly influences the painting, but isn't obvious. And what if I just sort of draw something and paint over these doodle lines and see what happens? I decided to draw some fan art of one of Deserted and Urban's beautiful outfits. He does some cool fandom-inspired outfits, but the ones that caught my eye for this were the bird outfits, specifically the barn owl. The different textures and layers and folds and volume are fantastic. Such good shapes. I'll put a link in the description so you can check out his other outfits. The original outfit had a cool mask, which does read as more barn owl-like. I really like drawing faces. I couldn't resist adding one. Maybe the mask is off for a moment of vulnerability. Because of where my test squiggles fell, I ended up having a lot of cooler colors where I drew him compared to the warmness of the rest of the page. I decided to lean into that contrast. I painted the whole background with a layer of red and the person with a layer of blue. I went a lot more subtly with the blue just because I knew that I was going to paint golds and yellows over it, and I didn't want to muddy them too much. Sophie was, of course, trying to help, which was stressful. I do not normally have a cup of water out for paint when I am painting, because I use water-filled brushes, and she is both nosy and obsessed with water. Any running water in the house, and guess who else is running? I stuck with using the regular brushes though. I like the different shapes and sizes. Some of them are much nicer for details than the water-filled brushes. I will have to figure out a better way to have a cup of water out though. I really like the shape of the shirt under the gold cloak. It seems almost like it's slightly padded armor. I feel like the fabrics each have a different weight and stiffness or softness. There's a lot to learn in referencing cool fashions. And those good shapes are so fun. I used some colored pencils to add texture to the hills in the background and on some of the clothing, like the robe, and to fix some of the lines that got eaten by the gold paint. Why not with the brushes? I suppose it's a different texture. I did the pencil fairly lightly, so the texture is a little rough, which I like for the background. It makes it less red geometric shapes and more ground-like. The rope could also use a bit of grit too. At this point, you can't really see the squiggly test lines anymore, but I do think it has added a little something. I like the slight green to the bottom of the pants, for example. It makes it feel like a slightly rougher spun cloth than the heavy gold fabric. Just going to remove the masking fluid and tape, and I am super happy with how this turned out. It was multiple experiments all tied into one, and I feel like I learned a lot. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to continue on this art journey with me. Bye!